joining. My name is Aaron Smith. I'm joined today by Marielle McLaughlin, who is in our marketing department. Marielle, it's so great to see you. And our speaker today is Jason Thorson. Jason, I think you and I were down at the SEBC show in Orlando, and I got a chance to see some of the new product from Daikin, Goodman, and Amana on the side-discharge heat pumps. And I said, oh my gosh, we've got to do a webinar on this because I'm not sure everybody knows. I think some of them know that it's available from the Daikin brand, but I think we forget that this, if you're an Amana person or you're a Goodman person, this will also be available across all of the brands that Daikin represents in North America. So really exciting. Jason's the business development director for national accounts for Goodman Daikin. We're really pleased to have him. And as always, we've got the Q&A section open. This will be posted afterwards in the EBA Academy and on our Better Homes, Better Future podcast, which is really Marielle's great idea, right? And that's on Spotify or Apple, whatever your favorite podcast system is. So with that, Jason, I'll welcome you and we'll turn it over to you to go through the presentation today.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Aaron, and welcome everybody. You can see my screen okay?
Yes, looks great.
Okay, good deal. So yeah, let's just jump in. Side discharge heat pumps, as Aaron mentioned. We'll get to, let's see if we can advance. There we go. A little bit about Daikin, and as Aaron mentioned, a core competency for Daikin is side discharge, is inverter. We'll expand on that here a little bit more in a couple of minutes. Founded in 1924, so next year is an exciting year. 100 years old, out of Osaka, Japan. North American HQ in Houston, Texas. And I do want to say too, as Aaron mentioned, as we go, please feel free to raise hand or ask question on slide. Let's not wait till the end. This is a 30-minute presentation, a lot to go over, but I'm going to try and keep it at a certain level of detail that if we need to really dive in after this presentation, I'm always accessible. So when we look at Daikin as a whole, globally speaking, HVAC market share position #1, as Aaron mentioned, that includes Goodman, Amana, and some other brands within the family that I'm going to show here in just a couple slides. I'm not going to rattle off every invention or technology that Daikin has pioneered, but some highlights: first rotary compressor, multi-port system, first VRV system. A very common question is, why does Daikin call their technology variable refrigerant volume, and everybody else says variable refrigerant flow? It's because Daikin invented it, and when we did invent it, we trademarked it. So Daikin is the only one that uses the VRV acronym. And as I mentioned, actually I need to update this, 97 years. Coming up on 100 years next year. And a point of pride for us is one in about every 3 employees at Daikin, over 85,000 employees, is an engineer. So Daikin being very passionate about all things HVAC, being the best at HVAC, which includes refrigerants, oils, and technologies related to HVAC. But we don't make TVs, we don't make cars. We're passionate about one thing, and that is heating and cooling technologies. So for today, I'm going to focus on the heat pump and inverter side of things. Refrigerant control, separate conversation, much longer than 30 minutes. But for side discharge heat pump technology, high efficiency, all electric, as Aaron beautifully set up for this conversation, we're really going to stick to that with some new technologies and products that have recently released from the Daikin family. I'm not going to read every one of these. I already made mention of some of the things we've pioneered, such as VRV and rotary compressors, et cetera, but the moral of the story of this slide is a passion to be the best at HVAC, to really push the envelope and come out with the best heating and cooling products globally, not just North America.
Jason, the big one that I remember was when you guys bought Goodman here in the States, right? What year was that again? I know it's probably in here somewhere, but
yeah, it went final in 2014, started in 2012. And I'm glad you bring that up, Aaron, because a lot of that is, from an acquisition standpoint, and actually, I think my next slide, it really is to build out the portfolio for Daikin. So Goodman having a logistical superiority, a price point product, let's call it, for what it is. But those engineers being able to collaborate for a decade now have really pulled the Goodman brand into a new space. And then the Daikin side has learned a lot about the North American market because North America is unique in that we
It
like
is, right?
ductwork. We like ductwork in
Yeah, we
attics and
love
crawl
ductwork.
spaces. Yeah,
Yeah.
Europe and Asia, because of population density and their energy infrastructure, they have been away from ductwork for 50 years at this point.
Mhm.
Fully duct free, high efficiency, and many people are born and raised in very dense, populous markets.
Mhm.
See if we can.
Hey, Jason, I just saw that Altherma product
Yeah.
mentioned. That was an incredible product. Is that something that's still available? Is that going to come back to the US
It
market?
That's a fantastic question. Yes, it is.
Oh,
They
great.
are going to re-commercialize it. I hate putting down dates because we all know things move. But even at the International Builder Show in January 2020, probably my first dozen visitors wanted to talk about water.
Yeah.
Of course, out of the state of California, where gas and decarbonization and water is kind of a different animal. But yes, the Altherma Next Gen 2.0 is doing very well in Europe and Asia,
Mhm.
and will be coming back to North America really, hopefully sooner than later, because I get asked about it all the time.
I'm going to keep asking you.
Yes, I mean it's if you think about it, right? It's split systems, right? There should be
Yeah.
an outdoor unit for the tank and an outdoor unit for the HVAC, and it's highly efficient, and
Yeah.
it's going to meet these evolving energy codes and utility goals and everything else that I mean, I don't I think I took that slide out, but if you really look at a home's energy consumption between space heating and water heating, it's pushing 70%
Mm.
of a home's energy consumption. So there's really no deeper opportunities than those two. So
Right.
no, I would be very excited for it because, like I said, whether it's customers or prospects, get asked about it all the time.
Great.
So this is the Daikin Texas Technology Park, the DTTP, opened in May 2017. So when we talk about investment in North America, and I need to run these numbers again because we're probably pushing $10 billion at this point. The point of it isn't just dramatic spending. When you look at this facility, which is very impressive, I'll show some stats here in a minute. It's quite literally Daikin putting their stake in the ground and saying, we understand North America is unique. We need to address the needs of the North American builders, consumers, mechanicals, you name it. And they really have put their money where their mouth is, you could say, with the engineers getting together and building products like Daikin Fit and Goodman Side-Discharge, et cetera, we're going to get to in a minute, that are quite literally designed for North American needs and the market. Sorry, every time I click admit, I lose my, there we go. So the DTTP, it is the third largest manufacturing facility of its kind in North America, behind only Boeing and Tesla's gigaplant in Austin, due to an expansion probably 2-ish years ago, is now number two. But when you look at not just the sheer size, but the innovation, the engineering, the experience showroom, and again, the flying the flag of being the best at all things HVAC, nobody is doing it at the level that Daikin, along with Goodman and Amana, are just outside of Houston, Texas. And it should be noted, this building takes up about 4.8 million square feet. We have about 500 acres in the area, so we are very much ahead of schedule on expansion plans and what the entire organization, Daikin Comfort Technologies North America, needs to do to keep up. Things are changing very rapidly, as we all know.
Mhm.
So some of the family of brands, recognized advantages, as I mentioned, when you look at the Goodman, Amana residential side, the J.E. Hall, McQuay, for those on this call, various, backgrounds and experiences. The point of this is to build out a portfolio to be the best at HVAC. A very large point of pride for Daikin with these acquisitions. Not one of these jobs left American soil. Daikin does things a little differently. I would say very intentional and conservative. Huge point of pride when you work for the company, but you know the commitment to being the best is not just acquiring, phasing out, moving elsewhere, and cutting costs. It really is to be committed to the innovation and optimization model that Daikin is comprised of 100 years now. So let's get into heat pump technology. I know just with the platform and the amount of people coming on the call, I'm not going to do a show of hands or whatnot. I think we're all pretty familiar to what heat pumps are at this point. I have a strategic electrification slide uh, uh, presentation, I should say, slide deck, that the path forward, whether it's California, the Northwest, I'm sitting in just outside Portland, Oregon right now, the Northeast, when it really comes to strategic electrification and decarbonization, heat pump technology is the center of that. Most people would not debate that. We're always going to have gas products. There's going to be a period of transition for years to come. But when we really look at heat pump technology, and what I'm presenting today is the Side-Discharge Inverter-based compressor platform that really is the centerpiece and the flagship for Daikin. So the 5 benefits at a high level for inverter: low monthly energy bills. It's no surprise when we consume less energy and we're more energy efficient, the actual bill and the payment to the utility company on a monthly basis is lower. Most consumers are a fan of that. Consistent indoor air temperature. I'll get more to that here in just a minute. Comfortable home, low operational sound levels, and very efficient and sustainable. And I know it comes up in a few slides, but the real punchline of this presentation, when I talk about not just the products, Daikin and Goodman with the badge, but the concept of side-discharge inverter technology, really comes down to comfortable, clean, quiet. Keep it basic, easy to market back out to consumers. And I'm going to expand on that more here in just a minute. So low monthly energy bills, I don't need to elaborate on this. I jumped the gun a little bit in space heating, water heating, this right here. Of course, climate conditions vary, right? Florida is different than Montana. But generally about 70% of a home's energy usage comes down to space and water heating. Great opportunity for a consumer to save while increasing their comfort and keeping more money in their pocket on a monthly basis. So here's where inverter really shines. We've all heard of a single speed AC unit or a 2-speed variable speed. Inverter truly is the maximum of variable speed. 600 plus positions of adjustment up and down, whether it's cooling, heating, just what's needed to dial in that set point. And so we use the car analogy a lot. So you look at this graph, right? And if you had a single speed AC unit, the analogy would be a car with 2 speeds, 0 and 55, which, if we think about driving around town, is incredibly inefficient. A inverter system, as we see with the blue line here, the Daikin inverter AC, it's similar to like cruise control, where, you're going gently up a hill, it ramps up a little bit, you're going down a hill, it ramps down a little bit. Your ability to dial into a very tight set point and stay, I'm just going to say 72 degrees. Stay right near that set point and not, let's just say, cooling, overcool to 68 and then let the temperature go back up to 76 and on, off, hot, cold, inefficient, 100% capacity blowing at you on the couch or wherever you are in the home. It really doesn't make much sense when you have an inverter that can get to 72, gently dial it in, keep it very tight at an energy sipping level. We have mini splits that ramp down to the equivalent of an 8-watt light bulb once it hits a set point and it's truly dialed in, still drawing in air, still pulling it through the filter, still, if humidity is a concern, still pulling that air over the coil, removing moisture, and then redistributing it back into the space. What you avoid there is hot, cold spots, on, off, like the house I'm sitting in now. My wife, who's now more educated to it, it's like you freeze out the downstairs to get the upstairs comfortable. You sit on the couch to watch TV. It's winter now, so the heat's running. But in the summer, and you hear that fan kick on and blow that gush of cold air, and you just play this game because, when it's not a truly variable speed inverter system, it's a constant game of compensation to get it to where it needs to be. And then, of course, I'm upstairs, sleeping spaces, you need it colder than downstairs, et cetera, et cetera. The humidity example, as I mentioned, there is no better baseline system to combat humidity than inverter. Even in a mild cooling level, 72 is a set point. It takes very little cold air to keep the space comfortable, still pulling air over the coil, removing the moisture, displacing that humidity, and then making the relative temperature that much more comfortable because you're not now dealing with the humidity in the space. Where with a single speed, single stage system, on off, humidity comes back, kicks on, et cetera, et cetera. Just
Well,
very
Jason,
inefficient.
the
Yes.
key there is you need to have air running across that coil for X number of minutes before you start to dehumidify. So when you have that on off, you're not getting the air across that coil, right?
No, you're chasing. You're
Yes.
absolutely, and it's a great point, Aaron. And that's the thing is, even if the temperature's 72 and it's not requiring, the capacity and the true BTUs to cool, it's still pulling that air over the coil, still
Hmm.
pulling it through the filter box, still putting it back into the space for a cleaner, when I say comfortable, cleaner air, and removing that humidity, even when it doesn't need to crank down to some ice cold temperature blowing, right? So that the beauty of inverter is never really on off. It just ramps up and down gently as needed.
Hmm.
Low operational sound levels. I will show more real world examples and images in a minute. We see here a traditional, it's even a Daikin unit, a DZ14 single speed AC unit. We're all aware of them, right? Regardless of where you are. We've all walked down the street and heard those AC units bang on off. I listen to my neighbor George's, not right now, but the entire summer, where Daikin fit and Side-Discharge Technology, which I'm going to show more, is about the decibel rating of a high-end dishwasher in the kitchen. 57 decibels, very quiet. Oftentimes people don't even know it's running. They have to bend down and say, "Oh, I didn't even know that thing was on until I saw the fan actually moving." Whisper quiet, locate them anywhere. And like I said, I'll show some images here in just a minute. And then efficient, sustainable. It's no surprise that if you're more energy efficient on the front end and you have a lower utility bill, you're also putting out less carbon emissions. You're providing societal and environmental on top of economic benefit because you're just using less for heat pumps, electricity, gas technologies, less therms. You're using less energy to be effective and comfortable in the home. So when we talk about Side-Discharge, this is a flagship model for Daikin. It's called Daikin Fit. Most people see this and say, "Oh yeah, mini splits. I've seen them, all over. I've traveled abroad or even in the U.S., whatever." This is actually a very traditional AC unit that is hooked up to a multi-position air handler, a coil, gas furnace could be. I'll show the applications in a minute with your filter box and a controls system. So what you get with something like this, when you look at the outdoor experience, right, there's generally only one, let's just say, piece of equipment or appliance on the exterior of a home or apartment or even commercial. When you have comfortable, quiet, small, right here you can kind of see it, but like the wall mount bracket, your installation location flexibility and creativity goes through the roof. It's no longer this noisy inefficient piece of equipment that everybody puts on the front wing wall of the garage because it's, as far away from sleeping spaces as possible. This window right here could be the baby's room. And this is a non-issue to locate either an AC unit, a heat pump unit, or as you'll see in a minute, heat pump dual fuel. Here's the applications. As I said, straight AC, pretty straight, forward gas furnace, coil, filter, controls. Then you have the all electric heat pump. And then you also have heat pump with dual fuel.
Jason, can
And
that dual fuel be gas or propane, right?
yes,
Okay.
LP gas, yes,
Yep.
exactly. And then the technology with that is, climate conditions. We're actually doing some pilots up in Canada where it's more time of day, just per the utility.
Sure.
But generally, it gets cold enough. The fossil fuel side, the gas side, will kick on to cover the heat pump. But with some of these utility programs, we're putting a new technology that can modify those controls even further.
Nice.
And then so we look at the Goodman side. So at EBA, Salt Lake City, and then more recently, I guess, gosh, a month ago, time's flying, Tech Home Builder Summit. So now we have the Goodman version of the Daikin Fit, which For those on this call, I don't know, if you come from the builder side, building science, raters, verifiers, what have you, the Goodman SD side discharge really is optimized for what I would call builder grade, right? The true balance of price and performance, all the features and benefits at a better price point. So just as I showed with the Daikin version, AC, gas furnace, coil, heat pump, multi-position air handler, a better price point controller, I would say, still connected. So when I say the comfortable, clean, quiet, I also need to add the fourth C, connected, even though quiet's a Q. But it gives those tangible benefits to the end user, to the home buyer, to the renter, whoever it is, and still capturing comfort, efficiency, whisper quiet, etc. So, reducing expenses with inverter, whether you're selling homes or renting, I mean, what homeowner does not want to be comfortable at a lower monthly operational cost? I mean, if you were to sell me a device right now that got me 20 more miles per gallon for my truck for a fair price, why would I not? I need to drive, life happens, et cetera, et cetera. Same thing with heating and cooling, whether it's Florida or Montana, you're going to be running the AC, you're going to run the heat. Why would you not want to be comfortable at a lower monthly price point? I've already mentioned quiet sound. Oh, look at that. I did not even know there were sound effects here. Aaron, can you hear that?
No.
Oh, all right. Maybe it's just on my end. I thought these same thing. 56 decibels, whisper quiet, high-end dishwasher. Moral of the story is whether it's city of Seattle or some of these markets, I mean, there are noise ordinances going into effect in certain municipalities that if your AC is not below a certain threshold, it's not going to get permitted. And I don't see that going away, right? Because like my example, and we're not a zero lot line, I mean, 10-foot setback, but just because the position of it all summer long, I hear, I love him to death, great guy, but that AC unit's on off all day and night. And it's, if you can avoid it, why wouldn't you? So some of the compatibility, some of the arrangements, I know I've said, air handlers, blowers, variable speed motors, coils, furnaces. It's not all electric, not all gas. It's a blend of each, based on market, based on need. So as we see the high efficiency, all electric, strategic electrification, California's decarbonization, whatever the movement is, this really is the technology that's going to get builders and home buyers there for HVAC. Connected control, I mentioned that. I mean, even myself, mini split in the room I'm in right now, I'm going to replace the entire system, as I mentioned, our existing system. It's been put on hold for a little bit, but I'm going to have a Daikin Fit system put in our home in this coming spring. It's not so much that I'm turning the temperature up, down, and really just geeking out to it, but for a lot of second homes, Airbnbs, or people who are seasonally in a location, how nice is it to know, not just, and we see on the left, the consumer level of, oh, this is what's going on with my system, but remote monitoring and predictive diagnostics with the professional, right? So your home's in Florida or Montana or wherever. Why should Mr. and Mrs. Smith have to be the troubleshooters and experts on their system when the system can quickly send an error code, 123 or whatever signal, to the installing contractor or a professional that can now pick up the phone and say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, I got an error code. Is your AC, functioning properly, or is your heat functioning properly? I mean, we've had OnStar for cars for years, and more. Even Aaron, you and I were, chatting about computers and updates before we got this webinar launched. Like, why would your HVAC system, which arguably is one of the more, if not the most expensive system in a home on some level, why would we not want the system to say, hey, Joe Mechanical, Unit 212 or 123 Main Street's having some kind of an issue, right? Like, why do we need catastrophic failure for that alert to go out? So whether it's Goodman, Daikin, or otherwise, remote monitoring, and that feature to be enabled at the homeowner level is only gaining in popularity. So this is multifamily centric. As I showed, this wall mount bracket. I know that's kind of a hard one to see. That's a retrofit project, Puget Sound. They located the condensing unit on the terraces. It's completely acceptable and appropriate because it is whisper quiet and it's very small. And now all these units have AC where they did not before. You can see these freestanding brackets where you can stack and just do things with these outdoor units. You can't it's not an option with the vertical discharge inefficient cube unit, whether it's noise, whether it's size, whether it's clearance requirements because of that discharge. You can just do so much more when it comes to these, some people call them suitcase style side discharge. I know I've said multiple times, side blow, whatever it may be. The flexibility and options go up tenfold. This is an aerial view. This is not ground floor. This is actually the roof of a building, rendering, if you will. But we do have real world examples all over where, we have a building in New York that it turned into a bistro. You can just do so many different things when you get rid of these noisy, large condenser farms. That with Daikin Fit, as I just showed, the ability to stack and hide behind these, hedges, whisper quiet. You're enjoying the space and you're not talking over noisy AC, and really just compromising what, this shows 24 AC units, what that experience would be like. This is becoming very popular, especially in the day and age of value engineering, right? I have multiple apartment projects I'm working on now. The terrace is designed in, you put a planter box, each unit has their own individual outdoor unit right there on the balcony, makes it very cost effective. Very residential grade, not whole building VRV, which is sophisticated. It's expensive. But between the Fit and the Goodman option, you can really design this in with intention of having state-of-the-art heating and cooling, yet adhering to the budget. And that being said, that's 28 minutes. 30.
Pretty good.
It's not terrible.
Pretty good. Jason, does the same hold true with the Amana line as well?
You know what? Yes,
Yeah.
there's the Amana S. I say Lexus, Toyota. We have two Toyotas in the driveway. We know the chassis are shared in the Lexus. But yes, it's the Daikin version, Goodman version. They have differences, but at their core, it's obviously very shared technologies.
Right, but I think the key part is, the HVAC industry is so interesting in the United States and Canada, right? Because you can have a town that's like, it's an Amana town because the big distributors are Amana, and you go the next town over and everybody's Goodman, and then the next town over, everybody's Daikin. So I think the ability to access that product, no matter what market we're in, is what really makes it unique, right?
It's funny you say that. I'm struck by that because I'm in the Pacific Northwest. I run all over, but there's some pockets in the Northeast, and it's like this isn't a Amana town. And I tend to stick to the Daikin Goodman because Daikin, premium warranties. It's a bit more of an AOR brand, if you will, where Goodman.
What is AOR, just for our audience?
Oh, I'm sorry. Add-on replacement.
Yes.
So a lot more, and when I say dealers, I mean mechanical contractors. It's I don't want to say boutique, but it lends itself more to that replacement, white glove experience, et cetera, et cetera. Not that Goodman's not there, don't get me wrong, but then as we know, like say production builders, they're looking for an effective product without being excessive because they're going to build 20,000 homes or whatever it is. So, and then Amana falls somewhere in the middle, all premium, great. The quality of equipment it's undisputed. That falls into an even more unique, I would say, dealership model with the contractors, right? They bleed Amana red. That's what they do. It's what they stick to. But the beauty of it too, whether it's our channel partners or dealers, et cetera, they all have access to all three, right? So, we support them to the fullest, and whatever, like I like to say, whether it's a builder or otherwise, whatever situation you're in, we have a spectrum of solutions that is absolutely unparalleled.
That's great. And if people are interested in finding their local dealer, mechanical contractor, is there a website that they can go to, or Jason?
Yeah, absolutely. So DaikinComfort.com, there is a dealer locator zip code you can drop in, or through EBA, myself, and the team, national accounts. I support the residential, multifamily, and also commercial national accounts groups very closely. You can always reach out directly to me.
Fantastic. And definitely open it up for questions if anybody has
Yeah.
anything. You can put that in the Q&A or the chat. Uh, Jason, I think the big thing that I noted is, we hear a lot about the HSPF2 and the SEER2 ratings and kind of some of the new Energy Stars or Energy Ready Home requirements. But it looks like from what I saw in your numbers that you well exceed any of the requirements for some of those new programs coming up.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. So when you look at these technologies, these products, I mean, it really is designed to compete at the 17 SEER level, which is not the minimum. However, I mean, if I were to do this presentation on VRV, I mean, that is where like the hybrid Ferrari, meets, hits the road. There are more efficient, leading edge, et cetera, et cetera. The price goes up, but these products, these technologies really are designed to compete at where price and performance meet. So to your point, Aaron, 15 and change SEER and certain, I'm in Oregon, Washington has a very aggressive energy code, right? HSPF
Yep.
9.5 minimum, 10.0 you
Yeah.
get, or actually 11.0, you get a bonus point. So when you start to see where that's moving, part of Daikin's DNA, I guess I would say, is to stay notches above that, if that makes sense. I love it, when I'm in a market in Washington or otherwise. Everybody's I don't know, getting grumpy because they're like, oh, we have to hit this, da 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 da. I'm like, hey, bring the market to us because we are passionate about efficiency and comfort and all the things that come with that. But yeah, to your point, 17 SEER, that's kind of where you see that. Yes, the market's going to come to you, but that's a strong number, right?
Hmm.
It's a strong balance of price and performance where you're still efficient, but it's budget conscious, if you will.
Yeah, that's great. The other thing I noted in your presentation, Jason, was minus 25F on
Yeah.
the operating range. And I guess my question with that is, do we need to specify something different to operate? I'm up in Minneapolis, so it's a little bit
Yeah.
cold. Oh, it's 50 degrees here today. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but is there something special that we need to order, or is every unit really tailored for kind of that low temp operating range?
Yeah, great question. So we have what's called our Aurora line, which it's number one seller in Scandinavia and Minnesota, places very, very cold. Stevens Equipment Supply, as I mentioned to you in Salt Lake
Yeah.
City, Egan, right?
Yep. Right down the
That's our
road.
that's our HQ. Dan Bino, great guys. So Daikin, we've since acquired them. And I love getting into those environments and those climates where it is different. But yeah, certain products are tailored to hit that low of a temperature. In enhanced capacity. It's called Aurora. So if you were in a particular market, even like where I am now, I would necessarily, well, case in point, the mini split in my house is not cold climate. And however, which even my wife the last couple weeks, because it's dipped, the way the heat, like we run the heat and it collects. So we actually turn it down to 66, 67 at night for sleeping. And Sarah's like, why is the air not cold? I'm like, well, because it's cold outside. And this unit does not want to blow cold air right now. Right. I overlooked that. But yeah, no, we have, whether it's VRV, residential grade, single phase or otherwise, we have cold climate models, if you will.
Nice.
I mean, we have contractors in Minnesota or excuse me, Montana, where the wind chill and yes, you can always do strip heat and certain things. But what comes with that? I mean, we have contractors that are like, I am struck at how well this system did when we had that event 2 weeks ago.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So,
Good.
and there's
Um,
certain times you're not going to avoid good old fashioned strip heat just to make sure you're covered. But generally speaking, 50-51 weeks out of the year, these
mhm.
technologies are more than enough.
Yeah. Uh, One other question, I think we're seeing some research where um, you want to use the manufacturer thermostat with the heat pump that perhaps a third party, I know when I upgraded mine, they said, get rid of your the one from Cupertino, California, because they ain't
Yeah.
gonna run it right.
Yeah,
Can
DP,
you
yeah.
just Can you just speak to the importance of, if you're putting in a fit or you're putting in the SD, you kind of gotta go, it's advised to go with the thermostat that controls it because of the algorithms on board, right?
Absolutely. It's a really fair point. So actually, too, with Energy Star does not currently have a rating for a smart thermostat optimized for inverter. Odd, right? So Arizona SRP APS, this
Hmm.
was probably a year ago, hey, Jason, the Daikin 1 Plus isn't on the list. There's no rebate. And I had to like contact Energy Star, and they're like, we have not figured out how to measure it yet. So to that point, when I showed the 1 Plus, if I went back some slides, it truly is optimized for inverter driven technology. And to your point, you can slap certain other brands, hot, cold, up, down, on, off. It
Hmm.
absolutely defeatures it. That's a great question, actually.
Yeah.
The Goodman side is a little bit more open, if you will. Still inverter. I still have not seen, because the Goodman SD unit is like quite literally hitting warehouses as we speak. It launched mid-November, so I haven't seen test data as far as OEM and third-party controls options. It's always been a little bit more agnostic and open, where Daikin's very prideful in the this control was made for this technology. Fully, I mean, with the Daikin Fit, there's actually a commissioning feature. So, like, say you build a home, you commission the thing, the controller actually runs a full-blown cycle and system, and so it's not just a human anymore. It's, through technology, we have tested the system, everything is operating perfect.
Well, that brings up a great question around, I think what we're seeing in the Energy Star Next Gen program that's rolling out is a testing protocol to the ANSI standard, where you
Yeah.
actually need to test for CFM, you need to test the refrigerant, and you need to test the watts per um, the wattage on the system.
Hmm. Yeah.
So is that something that you have foreseen as a company and you've got
Yes.
that testing protocol on board?
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And that's, I mean, I come from a construction background now, Daikin 7.5 years. I would always say it's like everybody has bad days, right? Whether it's the CFM and the ductwork, or there's systems we all think that they run perfectly or don't run. There's a lot of systems that are just, small refrigerant leak or an
Mhm.
electrical issue. I mean, we've all had on our side of the equation, you go out there with a wattage meter and like, yeah, why is this thing drawing so much? Right? It's a
Mhm.
wiring issue. So to have, just like a computer or otherwise, the ability to hit that commission button, and the technology supports the human and says, yeah, everything, John or Susie did today is great, and a little certificate, if you will, spits
Mhm.
out. And
Yeah,
then you give it to the builder and you're like, yeah, I mean, it's
good to
been
go.
fully commissioned. Not just
Mhm.
because there's times where it's like, yeah, the air's warm, not maybe it should be, but I think it's okay, right? Like there's a lot more gray area than I think people realize when it comes to.
Mhm.
I mean, we all say too, like the best system installed bad, right?
Yeah.
And there's the flip side to that, is a craftsman putting in a certain lower level system. I mean, it can do great for a while, right? There's a lot of variables.
Yeah. Well, it's great. Well, Jason, fantastic, great new technology coming out. I'm excited to hear that the Goodman product as well is loading into distribution across North
Yep.
America starting November. So great products to watch for. Great new technology to know about that operates in, what is it? Clean, quiet, and
Yeah.
comfortable,
Comfortable, clean, quiet, but after the Tech Home Builder Summit a few weeks ago, now connected, right? Because
and connected.
it was very technology centric. So after watching other presentations, I had to be really, yeah, and it is. I mean, it's where it should be. Um, and the way I equate it, it's like, it's not unlike, a phone or otherwise. Like, who's walking into the Verizon store or whatever, and like, hey, where's the brick cell phones, right? Like I think it's an education piece, and whether you're a builder, a landlord, or
Yeah.
whatever it is, once you let people know they can be comfortable, clean, quiet, connected, like, who says they want to go back?
No.
I
And
don't see
then
that.
and the other part you didn't even talk about is the rebates that are now available to go to this new technology. I mean,
Yeah.
depending on the marketplace you're in, but there are thousands of dollars in rebates to go to these new systems, right?
Oh my gosh. And, I would say 2023 was a letdown as far as the Inflation Reduction Act, because even at my level, because like I made mention, I'm trying to replace my system. So it's like, even this morning, I'm talking to a sales rep. I'm like, hey, what are you seeing from Sunset Heating? And they're like, dude, nothing's trickled through. So at the state level from federal, it's still kind of, but yeah, utility groups, tax credits, cash rebates, even at the installer level. Aaron,
Hmm.
you're spot on.
Hmm.
The incentives to make better decisions are certainly out there, and it's the only reason I didn't do my particular situation this fall. We're going to hit spring 2024 because I want those rebate dollars too. And yeah, no doubt about it. It's a very good time to capitalize on more efficient and just better heating and cooling.
It sounds like the most important part is that you get your neighbor George to also upgrade his unit.
Sure. So
So,
George, well, because we have, I'm in our master bedroom right now, west facing, second floor. It can be 82 in here, 70 the rest of the house. So I put a mini split right over my shoulder here.
yeah,
So he sees the outdoor unit. George is, trust me, he's like, when you do your thing, because of course I think he wants to see if he
yeah,
can't piggyback. He's
yeah,
like,
right.
you do your thing, give me a heads up, because both of our
Yeah,
houses are 12 years old, right? So we're due. And yeah, no doubt about it. It's a
yeah.
very good window of opportunity to improve both of our
Great.
situations.
Hey, we've got an audience question that came in.
Sure.
Justin, I'm going to allow your mic here, and you should be able to accept and then unmute yourself, Justin. And you are, it looks like, yeah, go ahead, Justin. Question.
So you mentioned the commissioning software, and either the controller or the system itself. Does that replace, or does it provide the same testing results as ACA 310 testing? You mentioned blower fan, airflow, watt draw, and refrigerant charge. Is this system going to provide output on those three metrics?
I mean, when it comes down to like duct tightness and certain things that do require hands-on, right? Whether it's sealing it off and at that level, I can certainly send you exactly what the commissioning report measures. I don't want to be presumptuous and say it's apples to apples. I mean, it really is the technology side of the refrigerant charge is correct. It's cycling through not just the compressor, but the air handler. And it's really, I mean, for lack of a better analogy, I mean, it's just running exactly, whether it's an automobile or computer, hit all the check marks and saying everything is as should be. But
Yeah.
a standard with tightness, blower door tests, things that can go past the HVAC system's capabilities, if you will, I would need to like really break that down
Well,
closer.
I'll agree. I think Justin's question was a lot like mine, that this new ANSI ACA ResNet standard 310 that's going to be required, it looks like, on the next gen program. If there's a way to get the commissioning data out of that tool, I mean, definitely put it on your roadmap, because
Yeah,
Justin, we're gonna want to push a button allegedly, right? And get, here's your CFM, here's your refrigerant charge, and here's your wattage usage, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
So keep us updated on that, Jason.
yeah. I will.
Other question I had for you is, are these model numbers going to be changing as a result of you guys going to R32A?
Yes, there will be revisions. Exactly. Great question. Refrigerant Protocol 2025 as R32 phases in. We already have some mini split product going that way, but like specific to Daikin Fit, Goodman SD, yes, there's always going to be nomenclature impacts on compatibility matchups, et cetera, et cetera. Make sure we're not connecting apples and oranges.
Yeah. And Jason, that change goes into effect. Is it end of next year?
1/1/25.
Yeah,
2025.
1/1/25. And
You
as
know,
I
yeah.
understand it, and Justin, you sound like you're an expert too, but as I understand it, you can't install anything that doesn't meet it after 1/1 of 25. Is that right?
It's a manufacturing change, yeah. And if you really look at it, and I've been with Daikin 7.5 years and just my experience in construction, but when you talk about SEER 2 and refrigerant protocol changes and supply chain disruptions, I'd say have fairly leveled out, but I don't remember a time in
Yeah.
industry, HVAC, like talk about being subjected to
Everything.
dynamics. Yes, yeah.
Well,
So
the only other, the big change in the HVAC industry, at least residentially in the past, was what? We went to ECM motors.
yeah,
Like, oh yeah, that
yeah,
just made
yeah.
sense.
Well, and even alongside this, I cited City of Seattle, but like I know New York and certain places, with the noise ordinances, which
Yeah.
we're a fan of because we're committed to this. But yeah, I mean, you want to talk about, and it's been a few months, but like when I talk to California developers, I mean, they're pulling their hair out because it's just, because they have the all electric standard on top of it.
That's right.
So you want to talk about moving goalposts
Yeah.
frequently. So
Yeah.
no, we do our best to keep up. I mean, we're in the business of innovation, so I like to think we're out in front and ready to roll. But no, the next couple of years are going to be interesting, to say the least.
Indeed. Well, Justin, thank you so much for the great questions. Jason, thank you so much for the fantastic
you.
presentation. We will again have this recorded. It'll be up on the eba.org Academy in a couple of days here. And we'll also be on the Better Homes, Better Future podcast, available at your favorite podcast download. Happy holidays, everyone.
Thank you.
Aaron, thank
All
you so
right.
much. I really
Thanks,
appreciate it.
Jason. Bye now.
All right, take care, everybody.